Protesters gathered outside the U.S. Supreme Court today to rally against President Trump's executive order stripping birthright citizenship from babies whose mothers are in the country illegally.
Inside, justices wrestled with whether federal district judges are overstepping their authority by issuing nationwide injunctions against parts of the president's agenda.
Fox 5 anchor Russ Spencer at the live desk with more on what happened today. Russ?
Well, Tom and Courtney, the justices seem torn. On the one hand, they seem skeptical that a lower court judge should be allowed to block administration policy all across the country, as has happened with several of President Trump's executive orders. On the other, many of them seemed resistant to changing the understanding of the 14th Amendment's guarantee of birthright citizenship, even to babies of mothers born or who are in the country illegally. Critics of the administration say the amendment, adopted after the Civil War, is clear. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. And the justices do not seem eager to overturn that law.
If I were in your shoes, there is no way I'd approach the Supreme Court with this case.
As far as I see it, this order violates 4 Supreme Court precedents.
Now, the other issue at hand is what the administration considers judicial overreach. The president's lawyers argue that a lower court judge should not be allowed to block his policies nationwide, like the birthright citizenship order or deportation of Venezuelans, for example. And it happens a lot, and not just to President Trump. Plaintiffs who wanted to stop Biden policy would take it before a judge in conservative Texas. Critics of Trump policy tend to favor judges in liberal San Francisco. Judge shopping, they call it. The justices will have to consider the legality of nationwide injunctions when ruling on this case.
Practical problem is that there are 680 district court judges, and they are dedicated and they are scholarly, and I'm not impugning their motives in any way, but sometimes they're wrong.
Now, this case was fast-tracked to the high court, and a ruling could come in days or weeks. If the justices rule in the president's favor, a lot of his executive actions that are tied up in court right now may be allowed to take effect. Interesting note, Canada and Mexico also have birthright citizenship, but more than 20 countries have reversed or rolled back their policies, often in the face of immigration. So the president is not alone on this.
It'll be interesting to see how the high court reconciles both of those issues. Russ, thanks.